It's about 1:20 West Coast time on Sunday, May 31st. I wanted to post a bunch of stuff earlier today. I did a couple things, but there were a couple of things in my house that were irritating me, so that started a couple of projects because I had to fix them immediately because it was irritating me. Anyway, I got those done. A poll came out today from The Economist and YouGov, very reputable polling. They showed Donald Trump's approval rate at 34%. He hasn't polled that low at this level of reputable polling since immediately following January 6th. And, we are now in, as of a couple days ago, we are now in the fourth month of this war with Iran. And, we see the weekly cycle of things. It's like, Sunday night going into Monday morning come the market manipulation, Truth Social posts, and Jared Kushner leaks another story to that reporter at Axios so that the markets will be up, and then Trump and all of his buddies, do their stock market bets and make hundreds of millions of dollars. And then usually by Tuesday morning, Donald Trump is posting something along the lines of, if Iran doesn't agree to a deal by 5 p.m., then I'm going to eradicate the entirety of Iranian civilization forever. And each week it just repeats, man. And this morning in an interview, Donald Trump said he's in no hurry for a deal. I mean, this war that he and Bibi Netanyahu started is plunging the entire globe into a recession. I don't know what the nationwide average for a gallon of gas is today, but I mean, it's almost $5 a gallon. I mean, prices on groceries are skyrocketing. Our energy costs are skyrocketing. I don't know that I've ever seen a president who literally doesn't give a fuck about the economic impact of his actions on everyday Americans. I mean, he is proposing no policies whatsoever. Republicans are proposing no policies whatsoever to ease the economic stress that everyday Americans are currently experiencing. And there's nothing they can do at least propose something, at least let everybody know that you're aware of the problem. I mean, it was last week or the week before that Donald Trump was like, no, I don't think about the economic impacts. I don't think about the economic circumstances of Americans at all, ever. Why would I? So it's like, on the one hand, it's miraculous to me that there are still 34% of people who approve of Donald Trump and his second term. But those are the diehard brain dead maggots who substituted out their entire personalities for Donald Trump and MAGA. That's just what they identify as now. And it's just stunning. It's just stunning. And, I was thinking this morning, I mean, I remember when I was a kid, 80s and the 90s, like when the White House press secretary would call a full lid at the end of the day on Friday, that was the end of the news for the weekend, unless there was some natural disaster or a terrorist attack. It's like everybody got the weekend off from the news. And with Donald Trump lately, it seems like the majority of the news with this asshole happens during the weekends. And so it's like, we don't even get we get no break from this guy at all. We get no break from this guy. And, you know, again, I mean, it's like, I really, really, really firmly believe two things: that the worst of the economic harm from the Strait of Hormuz having been closed for 3 months is not here yet. It's going to start arriving in June and July, and we are going to experience in this country and around the world a level of economic devastation that we haven't seen before. People who are alive today. I mean, even the CEOs of Exxon and one of the other gas companies are just like, there's an energy shock coming that's going to make the early 1970s look like nothing. And, you know, living out in California, which has been under supermajority Democrat control for the last 25-ish years, give or take, before this war started, it's like, I know the national average for a gallon of gas was like $2.98 or something like that. Because of all the taxes that we have here, and because we have our own special gasoline out in California, because, you know, we had to deal with the smog in Los Angeles, we were all used to paying $5 a gallon for gas out here. $5 was an everyday occurrence for years and years and years, and now it's like $7.25. It's just like, it's just, and that's not to mention, you know, groceries and shit like that. It's just, you know, it's been bad enough over the last decade, really, really exacerbated by COVID, that corporations just really decided that their business plan was to gouge every single fucking nickel and dime out of the bottom 95% that they possibly could. And they've been doing that. And utility companies have been doing that. And healthcare companies have been doing that. And colleges and universities have been doing that for decades. And, you know, you add on top of that the economic devastation that's going to be showing up over the next couple of months. And add on top of that all of this fucking AI bullshit that nobody asked for and nobody wants. And these fucking data centers and Kevin O'Leary. I mean, there is no part of our government that works for the bottom 90% of the people in this country. There is no one in our government, and I'm lumping Democrats in with this too, who represents the interests, the actual interests in the economic health of the bottom 90% of this country. The Democratic Party has been captured by corporate donors and AIPAC and these dipshit third-party centrist or third-way centrist groups that are just basically Republicans. You know, they're basically Republicans, and they're spending all their time and money going after Hassan Piker. Again, doing absolutely nothing to represent the economic interests of the bottom 90% of this country. There is nobody in this country who is fighting for or representing the economic interests of the bottom 90% of this country. And these AI tech overlords are going to plunge all of us into a level of poverty. I mean, I hope the bunkers they're building are fortified. I hope the bunkers that all those fuckers are building are really, really fortified. Because if they put 50% of us out of work, then we're all going to have a lot of time on our hands. you know, I mean, what the fuck, man? We have enough resources in this country to take care of every single person here. And instead, the people who are actually in charge of everything seem hell-bent on plunging every single one of us into abject poverty for their own self-enrichment, because I know I have $200 billion, but I'd like to have $300 billion.
One thing that stands out here is how exhausted people are feeling, like every single week brings a new crisis. It feels like we're constantly being told something huge is about to happen, whether it's inflation, gas prices, international conflicts, or some new economic warning. After a while, people stop reacting because they're overwhelmed, not because they don't care. That's honestly one of the biggest problems of modern politics and news in general. Everyone is fighting for the attention all the time. So every story has to feel like the most important story in the world. The result is that people end up stressed out before they even understand what's actually happening. You can hear the frustration throughout this video because it's less about one specific event and more about a feeling that never settles down anymore. Even if you don't agree with every point being made, it's hard to deny that a lot of people feel like they're stuck in a cycle of uncertainty. The constant stream of headlines has basically turned politics into something people experience every day instead of one election season. And when people feel like that, they never get a break. Frustration starts building regardless of which side they're on. A big reason these conversations get so much attention is because economic issues hit people in ways they actually can see. Most people aren't sitting around reading policy papers, but they're absolutely noticing when groceries cost more than they used to. They notice when gas gets more expensive, when rent goes up, or when a simple trip to the store somehow ends up costing way more than expected. That's why economic frustration tends to cut across political lines more than people think. Someone can disagree with you on 100 different issues and still agree that life feels more expensive than it did a few years ago. The challenge is that people want solutions, and when they don't feel like they're getting any, the anger starts growing. That's usually when trust in institutions starts declining because people begin wondering who's actually looking out for their interests. Whether that frustration is directed at politics, corporations, or both, that underlying feeling is often the same. People want to feel like somebody recognizes the pressure they're under instead of acting like everything is fine. And when that doesn't happen, these kind of messages spread fast because they're tapping into concerns that already exist. Another interesting point is how much anxiety people have about the future compared to what's happening right now. A lot of discussion isn't just about current prices or current problems, it's about where things might be headed over the next few years. People hear about automation, artificial intelligence, layoffs, and major technological changes, and they're trying to figure out where they fit in that picture. The technology itself isn't necessarily what scares people the most. It's that feeling that huge decisions are being made by powerful companies while regular workers are expected to simply adapt afterward. History shows that the new technology can create opportunities, but it also creates winners and losers during the transition period. That's why so many conversations today revolve around jobs, wages, and economic security rather than technology itself. People aren't asking whether innovation will continue because everyone knows it will. The real question is whether the benefits will be shared broadly or concentrated among a relatively small group of people. And until people feel confident about that answer, concerns about the future economy are going to keep getting louder.
How is anyone other than like Jeff Bezos or Mr. Beast making it out here? Like, I remember growing up, I thought if you made $100,000 a year, you basically had a mansion and a Ferrari and you were rich. Dude, if you make $100,000 a year in 2025, you probably live at home and walk to work. It's fucking ridiculous. Like, when I see people with like houses and cars, I'm like, are you the head of a cartel that I don't know about? And how do I join? Because, dude, this whole like working a job and getting money taken out of the money that I'm making to only pay more money on everything I pay, it ain't fucking working for me, dude.
At the end of the day, I think what makes videos like this resonate is that they're really talking about trust. People want to believe that the systems around them are working, that hard work still pays off, and that the future is moving in a positive direction. When those beliefs start getting challenges, even small problems can feel much bigger than they actually are. That's why so many discussions today end up circling back to the same themes of affordability, opportunity, and economic stability. Whether you're talking about housing, education, healthcare, or jobs, people are ultimately asking the same question. Is life getting better or harder for the average person? And if enough people feel like the answer is harder, frustration becomes a dominant mood of the conversation. That's when political debates stop being about individual policies and start becoming arguments about the direction the company is heading as a whole. The reason these topics keep dominating social media is because they're connected to issues that affect millions of people every single day. And until people feel more secure about their future, these conversations probably aren't going anywhere anytime soon.